All right, everybody. Um, Thank you for joining us. My name is Kelby Smith. I'm the executive director for HISAdvocates. I want to say I appreciate you guys coming on and welcome you. We do these, try to do them every week on Mondays, 4 p.m. Pacific. Specifically, we address people with what does it mean to live in the private? How does that look for people? And this is a super important topic. I don't think a lot of people truly understand. We will be back on Monday to get the topic uh, conversation happening again about questions on how we do it. We deal with existing living in the private members, and we deal with new living in the private members. We also talk about cryptocurrencies, what's happening in the financial markets, and wowza, what's about to hit. So welcome. I'm super appreciative of you guys being here. I'm surprised there's I think it's obviously because we moved the times and nobody's used to doing it today, but my apologies. Let me make sure. Did a text go out? Oh, a sec. Just want to make sure I sent out the blast. I know people are getting the blast. Rhonda, did you get a text, Rhonda? Yeah, we sent it out. Okay. Well, it is what it is. This moment, this time is super special. I think a lot of people are worried about what's happening with the marketplaces and what's happening in life. And before I get into the questions, um, I've been feeling a cold coming on or whatever it is, and I've been fighting it. So I just want you to know I'm going to be getting the questions done and getting off this so I can rest for the weekend and recover. I have a couple meetings tomorrow, and I got to get a lot of rested. Um, but what's happening right now, I don't think we're ever going to see again in our lifetimes. You got the link, but it is for Monday. My apologies. I'm here. Can't help that. I screwed up. Okay, so that's why everybody's not here. Okay. It is what it is. Anyway, I'm going to get the questions answered that were asked this week from the LPP members. Um, Number one, we're revamping and overhauling the support system right now. And it's not because we are lacking, it's because we need to get people to feel like they're getting support and instead of like it coming from a robot. And I know that there has been over the last year, there's been that element where people feel like it's robotic. And I'm just saying we service a lot of accounts. And we are not charging anywhere near what we should be. And I was going to raise prices and we're going to wait till after the year, but they are going to increase because the cost of goods, the cost of payroll, the cost of these things, and people need to work with inflation. They need to make more money. And just so you know, gold's gone up in value twice the value in the last year. That means the dollar shrunk by 50%. Silver is near $60 today. Holy cow. This is all stuff we've been talking about for years, and we're finally here. We're watching people bail on their own, the billionaires are bailing on their own personal stocks. They're going into cash, they're hedging against the downward spiral, and they're buying a ton of metals, and those are the safe places. Um, I was out of Kauai 2 weeks ago and I got to see Zuckerberg's house. Holy crap, that guy is bunkering in. He had like 20 SUVs, 3 to 4 miles of beachfront property. He walled it all with a lava rock to make it look pretty, but the people that have been there for years or generations have now been walled off from the beach where they would be able to go and fish, and that's how they make their living. That's how they eat. When we were at the hotel, there was a crew of kids. They were 15 through 20 years old, going and fishing all night long. And they were super respectful, super nice. They were sleeping on the ottomans, but that's what they do in Hawaii. Um, Almost every backyard has fruit trees. It's an amazing place. But I'm going to tell you right now, Zuckerberg's bunkering in. The people think Zuckerberg has a submarine that he's built. His bunker is built down to the ocean floor, and he has access to a submarine that can take him anywhere. I've heard all kinds of rumors, but he's somewhere between 250 million and $1 billion for the total cost of developing this bunker. He has like 100 of the most beautiful black cattle, acres and acres and acres of growing food. He's got complete teams. I mean, this guy is preparing for something. Okay. He's got houses all over the world. Obviously, he can fly wherever he wants, whenever he wants, but he is preparing for something in Kauai. And I know he's been pushing out my clients for the last several years since he's been there using code enforcement to put a little. And so, um, it is what it is. We held a seminar to teach people how to buckle down and have perfected title, and that's something super important for people to wrap their minds around. Anyway, I did want to talk on a couple different subject matters, but I'm going to get to the questions, and as we feel that, I'm going to go into those. But here we go. Uh, just FYI, that's been handled for the record in regard to the dividend on tariffs going to the people that President Trump promotes, as we as state citizens of America would not accept those dividends, I would think. Would that involve opting out in some special way? Okay, so first and foremost, those dividends are going to go directly into personal bank accounts. It's a direct deposit. As you know, we teach people do not have a personal bank account because you're holding an office of the artificial person. I know some people still think they need one. You really don't. We have foundation accounts that's exclusive of the foundation owns the business. Foundation owns the home. Foundation owns the cars. Foundation has all the accounts set up. Electric, gas, everything set up, so everything can be paid through the foundation. Um, the point I'm trying to make is, yeah, you can receive the dividend. Um, it's kind of your God-given unalienable right as being one of the people. You just have to claim it somehow, some way if you don't have a personal account. But if it's being direct deposited to the account, it could be construed as one of the proof ups that you're receiving a federal benefit. Now, you have to ask yourself, like, look at the Social Security Administration. When it was originally launched, it was a retirement account for us. We did the equity, we put in the time, we took out a portion, they saved, and then actually spent. Um, and now they removed it from calling it like a retirement. They removed it and called it now a federal benefit, and it's taxed again. So if you're interested in doing that and you don't have a personal bank account, there's certain things you've got to do to accept that in order to make sure you're covering your butt. And it depends on whether or not, if it were me, I would just go directly to them. I'd say, I do not have a personal bank account. I accept a check. I would endorse the check as myself, and then I would put pay to the order of XYZ Foundation and donate it directly into the foundation account. That way, you did not cash the check, and that way you can show it as a donation, technically not holding the office. I know very little difference, but the reality is it's a big thing going into your personal account versus going into a donated foundation account. Second question, I've completed the process and filed still, still file every year because I work. You don't need to. I completed the LPP process in 2024, so that's what I'm asking, if there is a rebuttal paperwork for this letter they sent. The name, meaning your name, yeah. Kelby still says we need to file if the corp name has a job for the W-4. So there's a rule of thumb here, and the gray area is if you have a revised W-4, there's no need to file. You would just need to outline, and we could put a letter together for you. It's not that difficult. Um, this is for Jason, that would allow for you to have a response to the IRS. And it's never coming from a place of um, you're proving your position. It's coming from the place of here's what's happened, here's what's taken place. This W-4 is clearly not what you think it is, and here's why. And this is the reason why there will be no filing. And unless I'm thinking wrong, prove lawfully where there's a contract in place that would require us to file as a state citizen, because state citizens are not taxpayers. Um, I hear you, filing keeps you out of jail, so to slow to speak. It keeps the people that can't revise a W-4 or a W-9. So the people that can't revise or don't have a revised one on file with employment, that's what helps them stay out of jail. People that have a revised W-4, there is no contract. You understand? So you're getting paid. And if it were me, and everything is coming through as exempt, because if you're using our W-4, it's coming through as exempt, and you are exempt, you're a state citizen, so you just file as you wouldn't file, but you would just send them off a letter in response and move on. They're not going to know what to do with the letter, and they're going to say, if anything, that it's frivolous, and you're gonna make the argument and step up and bring forth a very demanding letter with the IRS, and they have to respond, but they won't. But you have to start the process and be responsible. You are, in fact, using the artificial person, and that's where the payment is coming into. So, super important that you're on top of the responses. So, I'm glad you asked the question. But remember something: your W-4 is no contract, and it's exempt. So the fact that you would have to file a return would only be if there's an actual W-4 in play, and then you should let them collect the taxes because you've agreed to something, right? That's all we're saying. I need some help operating a business under the foundation. As you know, I'm a nurse practitioner, and my job, current place of employment, just cuts some of my services from the practice. So I need to take these services out of my own to continue to care for my patients. How may I best do this under the foundation? Simple. You just contract directly with the clients. They become a member of the foundation. In the back of the foundation, there's a workers agreement. They can hire you privately to do all that you do and pay the foundation. You would invoice them through the foundation and they pay you directly. Not that difficult. I require prescribing medication. It will require prescribing medications and performing minor procedures in this role. Do you have insight on how to best structure this? For donations, you don't receive donations, you receive contributions. I may require PayPal or Cash App in the foundation's name. I do have a bank account for the foundation. Some time searching the VIP, but didn't find much guide regarding this. I have answered this question thousands of times. We are working on a system to outline the answers that I have given. It's gonna take 3 to 5 months, but it is what it is. We're going to take all the answers that I have given and we're going to put them in through an AI model, and then we're going to organize them into a knowledge base. It's going to take about 6 months. Um, but it's super important because I've already addressed this and I really want you to know the answer. Uh, the fact remains is, if you need specific help, there's sometimes you may want to do a consultation. Yeah, it's a couple $100, but there might be more for you specifically that needs to be addressed, and then you can have private time and we can get to documents or anything you may need over and above. If that's not going to happen, which is not a big deal, the only thing I would suggest is, for you, when you're invoicing, you're charging for a service. If you're receiving a donation from somebody out of the blue, you would call it a contribution, not a donation. You give a contribution receipt. um, People can deduct and write off those services that they are paying, but they would need a thank you for your contribution receipt from you. Um, Best structure. I have PayPal. I had to go to a manager to get it set up right. Cash App. Really don't know a lot about Cash App. I do know that I have a foundation account set up under Cash App. Cash App. Um, and There's nothing regarding prescribing medications or performing minor procedures, but you may want to incorporate some of that disclaimers, and you may want to put into the private workers agreement the hold harmless. Um, So those are the things that are nuancy. Now, I would go find a hold harmless and I would shrink it up and put it into your private workers agreement. Make sure that these people that are you're doing this with have agreed to come in and become a member and are not hiring you. And just hear me out. They're not hiring you for your license. They're hiring you for your handiwork and your knowledge. And that's the difference is people think just because they have a doctor license, medical license, it's not the license that performs the surgery, it's the hands, it's the training, it's the technology. So you can take those hands and you can bring them into a private membership agreement between parties and you can get them to waive all their rights. You can get them to do whatever you want to do in that private circumstance and even dual witness it, notarize it, doctorize, cross your T's, whatever you want to do. I know that you're not a doctor, you don't need to do that, but there are some doctors that we have that are doing PMAs and are utilizing these types of private structures. But people are allowed to hire you in the private, whether you have a license or not. Now, some of the things that people will go after private practitioners on is whether they do shots and they don't have a license, whether they perform minor surgeries, they don't have a license. But the second you get somebody to go through the paperwork, and one of the things I could do for you um, is you can request a copy of other people's paperwork that they've done to set up their business structure as a private practitioner. And we can give you a copy and you could take that and make that yours, removing their stuff, their name, their phone number. You got the disclaimers, you got all the stuff. I once had one guy who was not licensed, one of the best back adjusters that I've ever had, better than most chiropractors. And he had three people walk in his office. Very unusual for three people to walk in the office. And one person was wanting service. So it was a witness and two witnesses and a guy. And he told the guy to sign the paper. The guy would not sign the paperwork. He kept asking for the service and he said, "I'm sorry, I can't help you. Have a good day." And the guy walked. The reason is the paperwork absolves him of being a publicly required license holder. And so it brings that person from the public into the private. And this is super important for people to understand. So that would probably help you out a lot if you want to just ask the back office for a copy of that. And private practitioner paperwork to set people up in a system, something like that, and we'll help you out. Next question. What is the process for getting a divorce while living in private? Do we need to start a new foundation? Any help would be much appreciated. It depends on if the husband is on the foundation or not, willing to come off, or the wife. I'm presuming based on your name, I'm going to keep your name private. Um, Listen, there are so many nuances with divorce. I would almost say take a couple $100 and buy a consultation. There's so many nuances. Um, and it's no offense to anybody. It's just the nuances are great. And I went through it and it sucked and it took 7 years. And the longer it drags out, the better off you are. The more, they want to pull your information and and this is the things that I did not want to bring forth into the public environment. I was not going to let things happen in the public environment, like a foundation being brought forward or the bank accounts of the foundation being brought forward. So those are all the different things that need to be thought through. That is not an easy topic to answer, but you do not want to go to trial. You want to settle and you want to come to terms when both spouses have an attorney. Super important, especially if you have crypto and you're holding crypto and it's about to flip. Okay. Um, by the way, if you're holding crypto and you have not donated it yet, that might be a problem. If you donated it before to the foundation and you're able to uh, mitigate that with your soon to be ex, then you're okay. But crypto is about to take off like nothing you could ever imagine this next year, 2 years. A lot. And the next 10 to 15 years, it's, you know, don't laugh. It may only take a few. just like they did with Bitcoin. It only takes 10 Bitcoin and you could retire, quite literally. But you know, divorce, settle, come to a meeting of the minds, and and again, there's too many questions I have. Are you the primary breadwinner? Is he the primary breadwinner? How long have you been married? What state is it in? There's so many questions I have. There's no easy way to answer your question. There really isn't. So I would consider doing a consultation. We'll get together on it and I'll answer the nuances because I did go through it and it sucks. Okay. Next question. Joseph, could you share a member's experience of opening an Australian bank account for a private foundation? The door Australia just opened for me to do business with for the ministry. Not really. They just went and they registered a new address, like a box in Australia, and they had a place where they lay their head at in Australia. They use the box for the mailing address with the bank. They have to use a physical address, just like here in America. I don't know about China, but to get the account established, when you're opening up an account here in America, you don't really need to worry about the type of account so much because it's a private, it's unregistered. So even if you get a W-9 or excuse me, a 1099 from a bank or from PayPal or from Cash App or Venmo or any services that you're utilizing, you do not have to file a return. So don't worry about that. But the type of account, um, again, Australia has different set of rules, different kind of an IRS. Just say I want a business account for a private membership association. Those exact words. That's what works here in America. I don't think it'll be any different in Australia. What documents are required? A full set of your books, a passport, and that's it. They're going to tell you you might have to have it registered. You're going to tell them, no, you do not have to have it registered because it's it's one of those things to where like here in America, people are always saying you have to have a registration for your foundation, and you must prove that with the Secretary of State before you're able to open up an account. The words that we use are simple. We just say, no, that's not true. We've actually have an account. Here's the account number, and I give them mine. Uh, that account is private, it's not public, and has no registration with the Secretary of State of California. And you and your company cannot possibly require one because it's not allowable. There's no law that requires us to have one. Therefore, you cannot make something, and you have to equally treat us as you do a 501(c)(3). And they open the bank accounts up all the time right away. So those are the only things you really need to think about um, to open up a bank account. I don't know, necessarily, but I've had people open up multiple bank accounts all over the world. They just revise the address of the entity when they're opening up the bank account. All right, let's get to the next set of questions under the Q&A. How do you recommend that I structure shares for an LLC as subsidiary for Revive Ranch Foundation? You have to put the name, of course. For somebody to invest to have equity shares. First and foremost, Ron, and most people don't have shares or stock in an LLC. You can issue stock in an LLC, but it's rare. You would have to outline something very specific. If it were me, um, there's nothing wrong with an LLC, but you're very limited as to what you could do. I would create a C corp and I would swallow up the assets of what you've already put into the LLC. The C corp is personally responsible for everything. You could have stock, issue stock, preferred stock, common stock, all different kinds of stock. And there's a lot more flexibility there. Plus, the person can sell their stock. There's they can put it into a foundation name. There's a lot of flexibility, and you create the agreement for selling the stock. So for them to have the stock, you have an agreement. The board members agree to the agreement. CEO first, and obviously, if it's above the CEO's pay grade or what he's allowed to agree to, that goes to the board. The board's going to agree upon whatever. And you're going to come to an agreement in writing into where you issue the stock shares. The agreement goes into the book, the corporate book. That's pretty much it. What are my thoughts on DEX versus SEX? CEX. Don't know enough, to be quite frank with you. Um, do you recommend any decentralized wallets? Only cold storage ones. Treasure 7 is my go-to. Treasure 7 is my new go-to. 10 out of 10 for security on wallet scrutiny. It's got a big screen. Oh, super user-friendly. Just dropped it on the floor. Super slippery. Super user-friendly. Screen's almost like 3 times the size of the previous screen. And you can I'm looking forward to doing a video on this. I'm gonna put it down before dropping it. Doing a video on this. By the way, guys, we're doing for the VIP members and outside the VIP, we're probably gonna charge like $25 for non-members. But the bottom line is the VIP members here at the His Advocates super important for us to give you some high quality services. And I'm telling you, on the 20th of December, we're going to do a 2 to 3 hour video training on everything there is crypto. And this got to get your minds wrapped around that date. 12 p.m. to about 3. It's going to be 12 to 2. We're going to show you how to open up accounts uh, on Uphold, 3-year foundation, Caleb and Brown, 3-year foundation. And then we're going to um, how do you add money to it? How do you purchase the crypto and then transfer it to the device, the hard wallet? We're also going to show you how to set up a hard wallet. So I'm going to do some pre-video before that date to where I'm going to show you live how I set it up. Obviously, you're not going to be able to see my 20 words that get displayed, but I am going to physically write down the 20 words on some paper, and then we're going to have an actual wallet set up, Treasure Model 7. The reason why I like the Model 7 is supposedly it's quantum computer proof. Who knows? Anyway, um, what about using UBS for liquidity? I don't know enough about UBS, but there is a couple of things, Rana, in the next week that we're going to be talking about for liquidity that are designed specifically around XRP. I think you're going to really love it. Where everything is done through smart contracts, where at the end of the time you can redeem, you're not ever letting go of the control of your XRP. The smart contract controls the XRP. It is out of your hard wallet, but you get it back no matter what, because that's the contract. Um, how can we redesign an equity investment structure? Okay, I already addressed that. Link was for today. You must got a text versus email or something. Um, what if you get a SS check? Would we get the tariff check through SS? I don't know. I don't know. That's one of the things I do not know. You see, um, if state citizens are tax exempt by default, why run everything through an unincorporated foundation? Is it just one of those extra layer of Kevlar? Yeah, it is. But and honestly, that's a great question. Um, the for me, the obvious answer and not so obvious answer to other people is the only way to contract with a bank is through identification. The only way to get identification is to present a birth certificate. So unless you trademark and UCC1 lean on the name, the BC, the name, and get the right to the name that they currently hold, what it is that you have open at the bank account belongs to them and therefore vulnerable. And it's not a state citizen, it's a U.S. citizen. The BC is a U.S. citizen. BC is what opens up the bank. So you understand where I'm coming from? So we just, yeah, create an extra layer of Kevlar for all those people that don't want to go through that process of trying to get their name trademarked, which there's a lot of benefit to that. We're going to be talking about that in the next couple of months. But great question. Um, I actually want to recover the name stolen, and we're going to have a product coming out for that pretty soon here. But it won't be that big of a deal. It's actually going to be a pretty simple process to follow. Um, any other questions? Yeah, I did answer that last week. Thanks, buddy. I think I just re-answered it. different way. How does my friend fight a 150K sewer bill for not hooking up the sewer for 20 years? That's pretty simple. What the question I have is how does he hold title? Okay. And this is everything. So I talk to people about this all the time. If title isn't everything, then why are they going after it like they are? Why are they stealing it from the child from the mom? Why are they stealing the MSO from the dealer and giving you a certificate of title? Why are they trying to make up fake deeds, fake land descriptions called legal, fake recordation or vesting types? If it's not important, why go to those levels that they have? So my first question that I would do, my first thing I would do is look at how he's vested on title. If if it were a foundation that owned a fee simple absolute tenure and title to the center of the earth, he has got nothing to worry about. Number one, they don't have access to the property. Number two, they don't have jurisdiction over the property. Number three, they don't have any knowledge of who to serve, who to bring forward, anything within reference to or jurisdiction over that foundation. So those are the things I would consider in getting that guy help. Um, sorry guys, my nose is completely plugged right now. How do you have your family member will their house to the foundation instead of you personally? You just got to put it into the foundation. Um, Set up an if they don't believe that or understand that, if I were you, I would just have them set up a meeting with one of the guys to explain the process. Give me 1 second while I blow my nose. Give me 1 sec. Sorry, guys. My head is completely plugged up. Anyway, funny, funny. I know. So this camera, like when you do Zoom Center, it follows me over there, and I forget about that. Anyway, so I'm learning. Anyway, yeah, he owns 100% of what? The house you're talking about? So he owns it in his name, but how does he vest it? He could be vesting it in joint tenants, tenant income. But the vesting style in his name, he doesn't own anything. Okay. Does he own legal description or meets and bounds? He doesn't own anything if it's legal description. That's my point. Yeah, I will. Give me through tomorrow. We're doing a lot of things together, guys, in the next couple of weeks. Sorry, my right ear's completely shut. Um, and revamping everything so that we can make automation just crush it. So just hang tight. We really appreciate you. I got to get off this thing because I can't even trying to pop my ear open. Um, my nose is plugged. I don't feel well, but I will be here tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Pacific, to do a prayer call with you. Keep me in your prayers. God bless, guys. We love you. Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific, we're going to do our next Q&A. God bless. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Um, and looking forward to seeing you on Monday at 4. God bless. If you need prayer, see you tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. God